So there was a link to a particular article that you had written, and I wanted you to really give an outline of what you were really sensing. You along with many people were feeling that this was the way the court was going to go. It still stings when you actually recognize the reality of that. But as the church, how should we respond?
Well, I think as Jesus would, by showing and sharing the love that Jesus showed us and gives us to other people. I think part of the thing is there's often a sense of panic that people have. I preached in Maine the Sunday after Maine voters voted to change the definition of marriage in that state and to permit and to allow same-sex marriage. I preached at the Lewiston Pathway Vineyard, largest church in Maine. You know what they did the Sunday after? The same thing they did the Sunday before. They loved people. They taught the Bible. They sought to show and share the love of Jesus. Well, now your listeners in Alabama, right? And I get that there's some people, and there's still some discussions going to go on, but now the law of the land, the Supreme Court has invalidated all laws related to the prohibition of same-sex marriage. So how are we going to respond? Well, I hope we're going to show and share the love of Jesus to a world that needs the love of Jesus to both see it and both understand it and to hear it and respond to it. So part of it is, now I still think people are going to contend, and your church and my church, we're going to teach a biblical definition of marriage. And I think that the part that I think we need to do is to not respond to panic, not respond by lashing out in fear or anger, but instead to speak winsomely and graciously, but to show and share the love of Jesus. Keep coming back to that, so our mission hasn't changed. The mission field has changed, but the mission hasn't changed.
And I want you to drill down a little bit deeper when we talk about the mission field. Of course, we've been seeing this trend with respect to the embracing of homosexual marriage, the tolerance, the acceptance of homosexuality. Even you could even use the adjective, the forced acceptance of this lifestyle that we have in the culture. So practically, as far as living that out, what do you see that we could be doing differently or more effectively?
Well, first, let me say that you live in Alabama. Are all the radio stations in Alabama? Are all the stations in your network in Alabama? Okay.
Yes.
And so I live in Tennessee.
Uh-huh.
In our states, the majority of people would hold the view that same-sex marriage would not be. But the majority of Americans don't. The majority of Americans disagree with us. And I think that's important.
That's to recognize.
Yeah. So in other words, the majority view now, according to polls, is same-sex marriage should be legalized. The Supreme Court did not force that view. If you're in Alabama and Tennessee, it's different. I live in Tennessee. But what I would say is we need to get that the trajectory just continues in that direction.
Yeah.
So Christians, evangelicals, Catholics, others who hold a different view are going to be increasingly in the minority. And so I think that acknowledging that helps us to speak as those not who have the power to define the majority will. We're not a religious majority. We're a convictional minority. Now again, I get in Alabama, I get in Tennessee, right? We're Bible Belt states, Mississippi even more so than us. But I think we have to recognize that, and then we should speak that way. We might say, okay, I get that the culture has moved on, but here's what the Bible teaches. Here's where we're going to live with winsomeness and graciousness. We're going to teach our values to ourselves, to others, to share it to people outside, teach them to our kids, evangelize our neighbors. But we're going to do it because this is what we believe, and here's where we stand.